that's part of the joy of being a person who is a parent or a manager or works with people, seeing the things that they get to do, how they grow.
Never be afraid of failure. Failure means you're growing.
That's George and Wendy Duffy, and this is the Powerful Ladies Podcast. Hey guys, I'm your host, Cara Duffy, and this is the Powerful Ladies Podcast, where I invite my favorite humans, the awesome, the up to something, and the extraordinary to come and share their story. I hope that you'll be left entertained, inspired, and moved to take action towards living your most powerful life. George and Wendy Duffy are very much the stereotypical suburban American parents. They've even been called TV parents, referencing the parents you'd see on Leave It to Beaver, The Brady Bunch, or Family Ties. Married for 43 years, they've raised 4 kids, including Jordan and I. With George going to work every day and Wendy, next teacher, managing the household. They are the traditional nuclear do-good family that statistics say is going extinct. At the same time, we know them as risk takers, adventurers. They're silly and entrepreneurial. Like so many of us, how they look on paper is a fraction of who they really are. We decided to sit down with them and hear what they have to say about being powerful. How having kids doesn't mean your life stops. Which social and political topics matter to them. And as they're about to retire, what they're doing to shape the world into a better place. All that and so much more coming up, but first. This episode of The Powerful Ladies is made possible by our Patreon subscribers. Did you know that for as little as $1 a month, you can support this podcast? You can send us love, tell us that you want more. You can support all of our events and all that we're doing in the world to fulfill on our full circle of empowerment. It starts at $1 a month. That's less than the coffee you're drinking a day. And there's so many more levels that give you more bonuses and fun things and behind the scenes information. So go to our Patreon, patreon.com/powerfulladies, and support us today. Thank you in advance. You guys look like I'm about to torture you.
That's what we think.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, hi, Mom and Dad. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for having us on.
You're welcome. I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today. So we're not holding any punches back. We're going to start with question number 1. When have you guys felt the most powerful?
I think I felt the most powerful once I realized after we moved to California and I was able to get a job on my own.
Can you provide more context around that? Like, what was it like before? What was it like after?
We could make our own decisions.
When we were first married, before we married, we always talked about moving to California. Mm-hmm. And we put that off for a lot of different reasons. And then when you were about 3 or 4, we made a decision to sell the house we were in and take you and Donna to California. So I quit my job, sold the house, and I thought I had a job lined up prior, but I didn't. Mm-hmm. We still came, and through a lot of trials and tribulations, I ended up getting a job, and that's when I felt most powerful. I realized that even though it was usually stressful, I got through it.
Yeah.
And was able to, put that behind us or behind me, and go, you know what? I did this time. I can always do it again.
So that example's 30-something years old.
Yes.
Have you felt powerful since then?
I think that just carries through to every day. There's been times where I think maybe like everybody that you fall back and you say that, woe is me, what do I do? You're stuck in a rut. But then if you're around certain powerful people, they bring you back up.
Mm-hmm.
Me?
Sure, Mom. When have you felt most powerful?
I felt most powerful after I had Jordan and Austin, because I had you and Donna when I was younger.
Yeah.
So I was insecure about what I was doing or how to do it correctly. Then when I had Jordan and Austin, I was a little older and I understood things better. So I wasn't afraid to say how I felt. I wasn't afraid to stand up for my kids even more and myself. And I felt like I could travel and go anywhere Daddy had to go because of his job. And then now that I'm older, I don't really care what people think, so I'm really powerful because I just do what I want.
I've never known you not to, so it might be more of a self-realization than a realization in the world. Well, you kind of mentioned that you guys have raised 4 kids,
Yes.
3 girls and a boy,
Yep.
and none of us are shy,
Nope.
even if we may have been at moments in our life. When you were thinking about what it meant for you to raise kids, like what attributes did you hope we would have? Like, did you just want us to be happy? Did you ever think about us wanting to be able to be powerful? Like, what were you hoping for us before you either met us or as we were still kind of coming into our own?
First would be healthy. Always happy. Most important to me, because I, education, a teacher and so forth, I wanted you to be intelligent to the point where you can solve your own problems, find information that you need, and be self-independent in a sense. Mm-hmm. And be able to do whatever you want in life. Travel, work, any particular job. Mm-hmm. And that's what we did. And we never treated the girls different from the boy. It was always any sport you wanted, any event you wanted, anything you wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we ever held you back with anything.
As you say that, I'm like, my mind's going like, did they?
We always supported you. We never stopped you from doing anything. We may have guided you saying maybe that's not the best, mm-hmm. or you excel better in this, but...
Because of this parenting style, do you feel that you did this type of parenting because of that's how you were raised, or is it because you weren't raised that way?
I grew up mostly in the 60s that I would remember. And my folks really didn't get involved in a lot. They didn't really check my homework. They didn't really go to any sports events or anything like that. It was just, she was a stay-at-home mom when I was younger. My dad worked. Weekends, we were just basically home. We had a pool in our town, so every summer I would go swimming, and they would take us, like, when he came home from work. But as far as that, my father pushed me to be a teacher, mostly because he said, you get summers off.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. And, it was... He just wanted us all to go to college because he didn't get to go to college. I'm only the second generation American. My relatives came from Norway and Sweden, and even my father went back to Norway when he was a little kid and then came back to America.
And he was born there, so you're first on that side.
No, he was born here.
He was?
My aunt wasn't.
Okay.
His sister.
So he was born here and then they went back.
They went back. He stayed there for a couple of years and then came back to America. And so for him, it was, you try to do the best you can. Do better than I did. That was their philosophy. But I don't know. I just always just wanted my kids to do whatever they wanted and have a great life.
So I grew up with a pack of wolves. No.
Does it all make sense? No.
Yes. So, no, it was a large family. So there were 7 kids. And with 2 very loving parents with their own baggage, of course. But I think with that many kids and being older, you're kind of, if you weren't watching over somebody else, you were off on your own someplace to go do something. So I stayed out of trouble so I could kind of roam the universe as I saw fit. But I think when you say, parenting style, listen, we had you. And there wasn't a plan. I think that, after we got married, it was 5 years later, and we just wanted to make sure that you were in a safe environment, had plenty of love, and I really think better than we had it, way more communications than I had, Later on, of course, as you become friends with your parents, those things happen. But I think younger, we just want to make sure you had everything. Our lives revolved around you guys to make you as the people that you are, trying to give you everything that you could possibly need, not want, but need so that you could have a good life.
As he said about more communication, I know from talking to your father, when we were kids, you left the house. You didn't come back till dinner. Mm-hmm. Nobody came and checked on you. Nobody wanted to know where you were. You're just out. We were always knew where you guys were, who you were hanging out with. We were more involved that way.
Mm. When you look at all of us as adults now, are you surprised where any of us are at? Or does it make sense?
You're scared?
No. That's a good question. No, because I knew you would be where you are, Kara, because you were always out, going, doing, nothing stopped Kara. Mm-hmm. Jordan was always musical, singing, doing stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Donna, from the time she was little, we walked in the house and it was read to me. So, of course, she's writing stuff. Mm-hmm. And Austin was always into sports and then eventually gaming, stuff like that. So you all kind of evolved what you were doing when you were little to adults.
I think maybe we're getting a little off the question here, but we're most proud because of the people that you are, that you take time to talk to people, you carry on a conversation, and the way you treat other people. So every time we come away from people that meet you, all I get are compliments about how well spoken you are, how polite you are, all the things that a parent would want. But am I surprised where you are today? I don't think you're going to be where you are yet.
Yeah.
So I have, I have great expectations for your aspirations, wherever they may be. So I think you guys are just getting started. So,
Real quick, I was going to say one thing, is that we had a neighbor who was an elderly person, and she was very surprised how all of you, even Austin being a boy, as teenagers, talk to adults. Don't just think, oh, they're old people, and not even bother with them. So that I've always been proud of.
Well, you guys never had a rule about your kids go away or no talking, or it wasn't like that. I mean, people have asked me what I think was different about being how I grew up versus other people. And besides moving, you guys never really kept things from us. At least it didn't feel that way. I think I always knew when we had money or when we didn't, or why you were upset or what was going on. I'm sure there were things you haven't told us because that's what parents do. But I felt like whether you told us directly or not, we kind of knew what was the reality of our life, where we were living and why, and if Dad was working a lot, why he was working a lot, and why we could or couldn't do these things. It wasn't like you protected us or didn't tell us things. We didn't get a lot of just because answers. And I think that was a good thing.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. I would say, I remember if we couldn't do something, it was we don't have the money. Be like, okay, cool, got it. My question is, are you guys surprised at where you are today?
Mm-hmm. Where are we?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I think that there was a lot of different work or career plans that didn't maybe work out the way that I wanted them to work out financially. But from everything else, everybody's healthy. How lucky are we for that?
Because was a geography major, and I always loved different places and cultures and stuff. I'm kind of happy that we did move a lot, got to see a lot of the country and different, of course, you in Germany, we got to see other countries outside of the U.S. and so forth. So it kind of goes with what I studied through college.
I think what's probably unique about our family is that even when we were first married, we took our dog everywhere. We didn't exclude you from wherever we were going. If you guys couldn't go, we didn't go.
Yeah.
You were our family. And then we also moved away from everybody else. So there was no other, not as many influences from uncles or aunts or longtime friends. And I think in some cases it was probably a good thing that we moved you from place to place. You may not think of it now, but it may have protected you a little bit from the bad things that happen in a place when you're there for way too long. and I'm not saying that happens to everybody, but just that.
No, for sure. I can support that theory.
Right. And plus you guys got to reinvent yourself every time you went to a new school. Like I did when I went to a new job. One of the things I've learned is that when you're the new person, they don't know how you're going to be, but I would meet people and I would take them on face value. Oh, this is what he's done for me or her, and this is great. But then someone else has an opinion because they've worked there for 20 years. Remember when they worked in the warehouse and that's all they see them as. I see their potential. That's all I look for. So, but us moving around, I thought was beneficial for all of us.
I know there was an example with your sister Donna. She was in high school at the time, and the teacher started talking about stuff, and Donna's like, oh, I was there, and starts talking about it. And then later on in the year, something else, oh, I was there. So she said, and the kids were amazed that Donna knew all these places and answers about stuff, and it's just from having traveled and moved and been to all these different places. So she thought it was a great benefit, even though she felt, well, I didn't get that friend for so long. But now, today, with, all the technology, you can talk to people all the time, no matter where you are.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about we moved a lot. And for the listeners, I know a lot of people who are terrified of moving. You're leaving your family, you're leaving the comfort of places. So why were you guys so open? Or was it, we talked about this, but on air, was it really hard in the beginning? Or why did you continue moving? Like, why were you like, okay, because for the listeners, we moved. I mean, me personally, it was about like every 2 years.
Every year to year and a half.
Yeah, and a lot of people ask me if I'm an Army brat, and I say, no, I'm a cable TV brat. So that's always my joke. Corporate. Yeah.
Well, tell them what you always say, George.
Witness protection.
Or the kids were so bad, they always kicked us out.
Well, so you guys were high school sweethearts, grew up in the same, typical 1950s, 60s town in New Jersey.
Middle class neighborhood.
Right. So why did you move in the first place, and why did you keep moving?
Well, I think when we first were together, we always talked about going someplace. We liked to travel together. Your mother supported me when we were single, dating, racing my motorcycle. So then we talked about going to California. And I think that's in everybody's mind, especially from the East Coast. California is this place where everybody lives on the beach. They surf all day, and they don't have to work or do any of these things. So certainly a huge misconception, but it was that lifestyle that was sold, and that's what we wanted to do. Now realize that you can think all those things. The reality of doing it is terrifying. When I first left that job and moved to California, a few days here, not having a job, not having that routine, I was totally messed up.
I was happy.
Because he was messed up, you were happy?
No. I like adventure and seeing different places. That's why I studied geography in school. And I'm like, oh, we're going here. Where are we going next? What's next?
So mom's excited and you're having a panic attack.
Well, yeah, and it's not.
But I had 2 little kids to raise too, so
yeah, and it wasn't about the moving part. Everything is different. So most people don't move more than 20 minutes from where they grow up. That's the vast majority of people. So they always have that base, that safety net, things like that. So you lose that. So and you get over it. That's fear. Everybody has fear about a lot of different things. The only way to conquer your fear is to face it and do it. If you're afraid of flying, the only way to conquer it is to get in a plane and go. So, but that wasn't like a plan where I said, oh, I got to conquer this fear. It's just the anxiety that you go through until you become self-assured with yourself. That's why I said I got through all that. I got a job on my own without anybody's help, and I did it. So no one could ever take that away from me. No matter what happened, I knew that I could always get another job, and certainly I did that a few times. So, it's been a great adventure from work-wise. But the other thing was, we met all kinds of different people, but we also lost a lot of people. I think that's the counterpoint to this is that, yeah, we saw a lot of things, but I don't have that corner coffee shop that everybody knows me. I got to make that every place I go. I got to redo that. we never had babysitters. Maybe that's why we always took you everywhere.
Well, Mom is also paranoid.
That's true.
No, I was going to say, when you said adventure, there was that dog show, Fluffy Dogs or something.
Pound puppies?
No. This is old ago. It was like Fluffy Dogs or whatever it was. And in it, he used to go, "Adventure, Jamie, adventure." So it became Adventure, George, adventure. Because that's what it was. Every time we moved, it was a big adventure.
Yeah, I think, we've been together a long time, over 42 years. And I think that without the support of your mother, I couldn't have done half the things. She never stopped me from doing anything that I had an interest in. That wasn't probably something stupid, but she was always there to say I could do it, even when I thought. I remember I took the job when we came back to New Jersey, and I said, "Oh, this is a higher level manager job. I was just a supervisor before." She goes, "What are they going to do? Fire you?" Okay, so it was just go ahead, go forward and see what you can do. So
Can I backtrack to the question you asked when you felt more powerful and things like that? Mm-hmm. Living in Kentucky, we had a few scares with tornadoes coming by and stuff. And I looked at the house. We had a place to go. I would hide with the dog and stuff. But after those two experiences, my whole life changed, because I said, what is the worst that could happen? The house blows away. Everything is gone. Start over. Mm-hmm. As long as you're alive and healthy, the rest is meaningless at this point. So I think my biggest change is when I had to go through those experiences and realize nothing else mattered but being with your dad and my kids. Mm-hmm. So now whatever happens, happens.
Well, I think, a lot of people are nervous about taking opportunities that are in different states or countries or even, down the road. And we're making it sound like everything's fine. But I think it's also really important to speak to the fact that every time we moved, there was a complete emotional roller coaster behind this. Like, it's not like you say yes and then everything's fine. And it just like, oh, we're a little nervous, but it works out. Like, no, there was like complete meltdowns that happened along the way. Like, even, we were looking at properties with you guys yesterday because you're about to retire and like, where do you want to go? And, the places we were looking at are within 2 hours of where I live right now. And Jesse and I have been talking about like, what's next for us and where else should we go? I know that even if we move 1 hour away, we have to assume we're moving to another planet. Otherwise, like, it's not going to work. So I don't think, like, even when I went to Germany, I was like, okay, I'm going to another planet. I have to assume nothing will work the way it was supposed to. Like, you really have to do this mental preparation. And I think a lot of people either underestimate how difficult it will be, or they overestimate how difficult it'll be. Like, where's that middle ground of just accepting that there's all this stuff is going to happen, but like, just keep going, which is maybe just a whole life metaphor, but
I go crazy. I drive him crazy because I get so I'm very organized. I know where my cups go. I know what sheets, all this
also
stuff.
called control freak.
A little bit.
Meanwhile, everyone's eyebrows in the studio just raised as high as they could.
I like to be organized so I can find things easy. I know where they are and so forth. So every time we would go to look at another house, I'm like, that's not where that goes and that isn't there. And he would, Dad would go nuts like, hey, we'll make adjustments. That's the hardest for me. I get so used to something, even though we always live there long, but I get organized very quick. And then I'm like, I got to reorganize. I got to change. Where's it going to fit? I get like a little meltdown, and then finally it's just like, whatever. And then I can go on. So that's the hardest part for me, moving.
Well, you get all there's so many emotions tied to things, right? So it's like before you move, there's all everything we're leaving behind. And then once you get there, there's everything that doesn't work. So it's not like there's one meltdown. There's usually at least two, if not more.
But I got to praise your father because he always went ahead with the job first. So he was there before we got there. And he would find the doctors and the schools and set all that up. And that took a lot of pressure off me. Because every time we're moving, we're making it with a doctor. What about the dentist? And I would,
Stuff that I don't even think about.
Well, you weren't a mother. You got 4 kids. That's the first thing you think about. A dentist, a doctor. Where are they going to go to school? All that stuff.
Yeah, and realize that when we would have a conversation because a job would come up, or maybe I wanted to move on from where I was, and me and your mother would have a conversation about what do we do, and then the feelers would go out. But I realized that I know it was hard for you. Actually, you 3 girls, women, were very easy to move. You didn't complain, oh, I don't want to move. I don't remember ever you saying, I don't want to move. Now, your brother, that's another story. But
because he got to stay in one place longer than any of them.
Yeah, but I also I realized it takes 45 days for you guys. Once 45 days passed, you didn't talk about your old friends. Mm-hmm. You didn't talk about the old town hardly. You didn't talk about I want to go back there. And you hardly ever said that. But once that 45 days passed, and then once we did a Christmas or a holiday season in a house.
But I will say it usually took 1 year to feel like it was home.
Yeah, but then we would leave.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't imagine a life not moving. Because it just, I don't know, when you're used to chaos, there's a different level of...
I can't either, and that's why I really brought this up, because I feel like a lot of people, for them to feel powerful, they know their area, they're comfortable where they are. But like me, one of the reasons I feel powerful is because with moving so much, it gave you so many good attributions. We're so social.
Attributes.
That word. Yeah. I can't do English, so that also helps.
No, I was going to say that was the best thing. You all made friends in like 1 week. Quick. Mm-hmm. You never were afraid to talk to people. And you knew if you didn't talk to people, you'd be sitting in the corner forever. But you guys are all very sociable now. You'll talk to anybody. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what shocked me? When you had to go to Germany and you asked me to stay at your house in Long Beach.
Yeah.
I was there like for a month watching Bandit and stuff.
Yep.
I went to Disney by myself. I went to Balboa. I went to Knott's Berry. I went all over. And my friends back home would say, you went by yourself? Oh, isn't that scary? I'm like, I had a lot of fun. I could do whatever I want. I didn't have to wait for anybody.
You could go to the bathroom 100 times. Yeah. No one complains.
I'd go on ride. But the funny thing is, I'd go on a ride. I'm online by myself, and I'd say, hey, where are you guys from? I would just talk to people, and they say, oh, come sit with me on the ride. You're alone. I had that almost everywhere I went, and I'm like, this was so much fun. But a lot of my friends couldn't understand how I could do it by myself. And I'm like, what's so scary? I never understood that.
Obviously, like what powerful means and who powerful people are has changed a lot over time. When you think about when you were kids, what did you think was powerful? Like as you grew up, how did powerful people and your perspective of them and your description of them change?
Well, I think there's a difference between there are a lot of powerful people, and people yield the power that they have, whether they're politicians or leaders or bosses that you have. Mm-hmm. So I think that, it kind of goes back to, with great power comes great responsibility but I think that it's all how you use it more than anything else. And being powerful, I think for yourself is really important. But I think that you have to also understand how the things that you do that interact with people. And I think being powerful is not being afraid, looking for what you want to do. And I think I tell people all the time, what makes you happy? Mm-hmm. If you're happy doing whatever it may be, you don't have to be like me. Stay in one place. Do whatever makes you happy. That's the most important thing that I've learned over the years. But there are things people want to do things, and however you can support them to be powerful is a great thing. And I think that's part of the joy of being a person who is a parent or a manager or works with people. Seeing the things that they get to do, how they grow.
I think part of power is being able to just do what you want, mm-hmm. not care what other people say or what other people think. If it's a passion you have, go out and do it. And if people start judging you and so forth, realize they're jealous or they don't have the courage to do something. And I agree, like your father, you don't have to do what everybody else does. Do what makes you happy and what you want to do in life, even if it doesn't make you happy. And never be afraid of failure. Failure means you're growing. There's like, they always say about Edison with the light bulb, how many experiments before he got it right? Baseball players, how many hit more, outs than home runs? So failure is a way of growing to get to where you want. So that's my one thing I would say. And that's a powerful thing when you know you can fail.
Who are powerful people that you guys admire?
Well, I'm going to give you 3, but you're going to probably laugh at me.
That's okay.
I admire Lady Gaga, Pink, and Michelle Obama.
I wouldn't laugh at any of those. Why would we laugh at those?
Well, they're like not the same. They're like different.
I know, but that's, I think, the definition of what we're trying to cover on this podcast.
Yeah.
So now I want to know what you admire about each of them.
I admire her. Oh boy, I'm like my daughter. I admire Pink because she just went out and I'm going to sing and this is how I sing. This is how I'm going to look. And I think she's a great singer. Same with Lady Gaga. I'm going to make a point of things. I'm going to let you see what I do. And I think she's wonderful. And I like Michelle Obama because she has grace, sophistication, dressed great, and supported her husband as well. But she wanted the world to be better. Let's exercise. Let's eat right. Let's read and be good. So those are my 3.
Okay.
Well, first I have to say that
Spider-Man.
there's a lot of characters out there, books I've read, fiction, as well as biographies. And, there's great people have done some great things. But really, who I admire most are really my children, because I think that you're still fearless. I see that the things that you do, and I know that you're afraid is probably not the right word, but concerned about things that you do, but you go ahead and do them anyway. Jordan, the other day, we were at that wood chip festival or whatever it was.
It's called the Sawdust Festival.
The wood chip festival. Wow.
And Austin called it that wood fair thing.
It was a beautiful place, Christmas theme. But, I tease Jordan about singing all the time. But she's fearless. She got up and right in the middle of the crowd let off a little opera, which was kind of cool. So, and I know that I push you guys to do certain things. But I think that that's who's powerful. But let's go back a little further. I had a powerful mother and a powerful grandmother, besides a powerful wife. Okay? I couldn't have done, your mother had just been wonderful as far as all the things going forward. All the little details that I miss, which is probably most of them, she's covered that gap. I worked hard to try and bring in money so that we could support the family and, keep a roof, pay for all the schools and things like that. But she put all the pieces together so that we were like that. But, I had a mother who had 7 kids and then went out and started a career in the insurance business, became an insurance broker.
How old was she when she started that?
She was probably in her early 40s. I mean, she still had young kids at home. And at that time, they said, no, we won't give you a job in the insurance business. You can't do this. You have kids. They turned her away. So she had to go her own route to build this little business that she had that she did quite well with. And I had a grandmother who, born in 1901, marched with the suffrage movement and raised her kids to be strong. We have an aunt that is another powerful woman, had her own business and
Still does.
Right, and still does wonderful things. But so there's a lot of powerful people that were in the family, and I think the other part is holding everybody accountable. My mother held me accountable to be a person that I should be. Like we hold you accountable. There's things that we would not accept from you, behaviors and things like that. It's like, nope, that's not happening.
Yeah.
So,
on the scale of strictness, you guys were, like, it's hard to explain to people because I think you were very open, but very strict as parents.
Yeah, because it, like, to give an example, I could never lie to you guys, not out of fear of, like, what would happen if I did lie to you. It was more of you guys were open about it, where it's like, why would you lie? There's no reason to lie. So I was always open with you. I'm probably too open with you guys, but it was never like...
At least one parent just nodded.
It was more of like, you can't lie to us. I have lied to you guys, and it has backfired.
I was going to say,
And I've learned
you always
from
would
that.
you would get caught in your lie, and part of it was really cool, especially growing up into Massachusetts, where we were the last like 10 years.
Yeah.
We all had friends through the kids' sports. Nobody got away with anything because somebody's parents saw you in town, and they would come back and say, you know.
Well, I think you guys were you were strict with the rules that you had, especially compared to how a lot of other people I know were raised. But you're also really involved. Like we didn't have a choice. You were like in our space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So-
you were in everything.
For better or worse.
That sounds bad.
No.
You weren't helicopter parents, but there wasn't like a part of our lives that you didn't know about because there just wasn't any space for it.
Like if there was a class trip, Mom, you always went. Because one, you were like, I feel like one, you wanted to be involved with us, and two,
You just wanted to go on the trip yourself.
you just wanted to go on the trip
I wanted to go
yourself.
on the trip.
Yeah, but you were also a teacher, so you have that angle. I feel like you taught us real. Like I remember, we would have spelling test every week before the actual test. You would make us
Every night.
every night. You would make us spell the word. If we got it wrong, we wrote it like 10 times or however many times. And then by Friday, we got an A plus.
Yep.
So, but I have a question based off of the powerful people. Dad, you talked about your mom and your grandmother and your aunt. Mom, when you were growing up, who were your, like, either gender? Who did you look up to? Who was powerful to you?
Well, my father basically controlled everything in my house. My mother was very timid. Was not, it was watch out when your dad gets home, you're going to get it, So she didn't do anything. But the one thing I could say, my father was going to be laid off. And since he was only the breadwinner, it was nerve-wracking. My mom got up and went out and got a job. And then worked
How old were you when this happened?
maybe junior high school, or now they say middle school. And, it was because I remember in high school she was working because I would wake up in the summer to go swimming or something. She was already gone. And that was really, really hard on her because she was not a very forceful, pushy person. But my dad had some surgeries. She took over. She didn't like to drive, but she had to. So when push came to shove, she was powerful. Mm-hmm. On her own, she'd rather be submissive and just relax and so forth. So my grandmother, she was like your father's grandmother. I guess it was that generation too, that you go through wars and depressions. You
What
have
made
to.
them powerful to you?
Okay, my grandmother, she always worked. She even used to address envelopes for companies, and that was a business.
Address envelopes?
Yeah, you would write out who the stuff goes to. They didn't have computers and printers and stuff like that, so people would handwrite addresses.
Oh, okay.
She worked for a tugboat company in the office. She went and got a job in a department store on weekends. A lot of it was my grandfather had gotten hurt, so a lot of it was necessity.
Yeah.
And you had to do what you had to do. She went through the Depression. She went through the different wars. She even had her 2 friends who lost their husbands move in with her, built a basement, 2-bedroom apartment for them. And it was just a matter of, it has to be done. You don't have a choice. You become powerful with necessity. And so my grandmother was very forceful. My mother had been sick when she was like late teens, so she was more timid. But when it came to push to shove, she went out and did it. So they were the 2 people around me that I would have seen. I had a more sheltered life. I didn't have a lot of powerful people around. It was just mostly my family. I only had
Family
one
can
aunt.
be powerful.
Yeah.
Well, I only had one aunt who had no kids. My other uncle, they were out in California. We're in New Jersey, so I didn't have a lot of relatives around. Unlike your father, who had a lot more kids and people. So I was the youngest, the only girl. So I had a very sheltered life. So again, with me, it came to when I had to do it. I was scared and nervous, but do it.
When you guys were growing up, were there people in schools or even celebrities or comic books that were powerful people to you that you looked up to, even if they were not real people, they were fiction?
I would get a lot of it from reading biographies, whether it be Jefferson or Edison or Tesla or just a random story about people achievements and overcoming. The Boys in a Boat is a great book about that. So
when you thought about like who you wanted to be when you grow up, who were you modeling your ideal life after?
Well, she made the comic book reference, so it's like I can't be Superman, but I could be Clark Kent. So I think
What did that mean?
Well, I think that meant to be good and honest and fair, and to look out for people who weren't as fortunate as you.
What about you, Mom?
I wanted to be Marie on Donnie and Marie.
That's who you wanted to be when you grew up? What did that mean?
Well, they had fun together, and they were singing and dancing and had stars come in and entertaining people, and people were laughing and having fun. I used to just love watching that show. It was so much fun.
There's a lot of things that you said in that I wouldn't, that seem to be maybe missing in the life that you've built. So how are you entertaining celebrities and having fun?
I don't know how to answer that. No, I just thought, I don't know, maybe that's why it's fun watching Jordan when she goes out and we see her sing at open mics or something like that. It just looks like a great entertainment. You're making people laugh.
Now it makes sense. It makes so much more sense now.
Well, I think that we need to re-gift your gift and give it to Mom, because I think Mom has some improv inspirations that haven't been tapped into. The two of you can go together. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, that would be a fantastic TV show.
That would.
You and your mom going to improv class. It'd be like taking Barry to another level. Who needs the assassin storyline when you're going to acting classes with your mom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She's like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are both, in my opinion, smart and powerful people and capable and kind of on a good citizens checklist. So when you look at the world today, what are the causes that you think more people should be focused on or making an impact in, and what do you want to see change?
Healthcare.
Explain.
Everybody should have healthcare. Nobody should worry that they don't have money to take care of their child, their elderly parent, or themselves. I think there's a big gap missing in healthcare. I mean, even me, eventually I'm going to be on Medicare. I'm worried about how I'm going to pay for my prescriptions. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's amazing how much you have to pay. And the other thing, I think, like daycare for parents. It's really hard for a lot of women.
Daycare for like elderly parents?
No, for children.
Oh.
You said parents.
Daycare. You said daycare for parents. I thought you meant
so
for
parents,
senior parents.
No. So parents can put their kid in daycare and not worry and feel very safe. I think more businesses should have on-site daycares, because if you have a parent who feels comfortable that their child is safe, you're going to have a great parent, a great worker who will do a great job for your business. Mm-hmm. And I know that was my biggest problem. And like look at your sister Donna. She has to travel, and to get somebody to watch her kids is really hard. Mm-hmm. And she's very nervous about it. The other thing I was going to say is people should be more concerned about the earth, like, recycle more, use, like I got you guys, the produce bags that are washable.
Yes.
And you can reuse them. Things like that I think are important. I think people should stop getting a lot of waste. Mm-hmm. And I don't like a lot of waste. You see people throw things out, or they buy things they don't need, and it's just piles up and piles up. So I think taking care of the earth, taking care with all the medical stuff, and daycare would make a lot of people more happier. If you can be relaxed and knowing things are clean and safe and so forth, you're happier. So those are my three main concerns.
I agree.
I think that today we seem to blame groups for our problems. People who are powerful try to leverage one group against another, and we don't need that. There is no group. We're all in the same group. Yeah, this is the richest country in the world. There's no reason why we don't take care of each other. And it's not someone else's fault because some poor person is getting welfare someplace. No, that's not the problem. But we need to make sure everybody's housed and fed. There's plenty of money for that to go around for everybody, and it's taking care of health, all those things. So I think people have to make sure they know facts and really pay attention to what's going on. I mean, we're so busy working. That's the problem. We're all working hard.
Yeah.
Our heads are down and we're digging our holes, but we're not paying attention all the time to the people that we elect, and we need to do that.
How do you recommend people do that? Like, what actions can people take to be more aware and involved?
Well, I mean, how many people go to the voting booth and they're not even sure who they're voting for? Okay, so take a few minutes and understand who the candidates are. How many town hall meetings have you gone to?
Don't be selfish.
Well, I just think that, we talked about what topics matter to you guys. And I feel like we need people like you who are smart and capable and come from a good place to be people taking those things on in whatever level, shape, form that looks like.
I think that your generation, even younger, have to realize just because somebody's old doesn't mean they're stupid or unable to do anything.
That's exactly what I just said.
Right, but I'm saying it that they shut up. That you lose a lot that you could learn from an old person.
Yes.
And that's what some people don't want to talk to the older people, or don't think they, oh yeah, what is that they say now? Okay, boomer.
Yeah.
So you can't keep saying that. You say, come here, boomer, let me learn from you.
I know. So I'm asking you, how are you going to share your knowledge and make a difference in the world that doesn't have to do with family?
I'm going to tie people in a chair and make them listen.
Wow.
I'm joking.
It sounds like a new Netflix special. Okay.
Experience. Just go out and do things. Let people see what you can do, that you are out there doing it and you're not afraid.
So are you going to do that?
I'm going to try.
Okay.
Like, are you going to take on the healthcare system?
Well, try.
What does try look like on the court?
Good question. Do you have an answer, George?
I think that it's being involved and holding leadership accountable for what's going on, and not accepting answers that are happening, and that, and making sure your voice is somehow heard and your voices get together with the other voices, so that there is more power behind those voices. So you can see the swell that's happening now with the people that are not necessarily who you think are the loudest really aren't the loudest.
Yeah.
But where does that take? Like for us, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But I think what retirement allows you to do is take that pause and say, okay, what can I do different now? What are the skills that I've developed over the years, and where can I put them to use, whether they're just for me or for the community? So I think being part of a community is a really important thing, and I think that some of the things that have been lacking in moving around, and I think that everybody looks for that, some sense, so that we all want to be part of something. Well, I don't want us to be separated.
Yeah.
But I want us to know that we're all somehow connected, and I want to be part of something good.
And I think also, because I think it's also important for people that are the boomer baby age or whatever, need to try to improve the world for the ones coming up, and not just say, well, I'm done. I can just, sit back and relax. No, you want it better for your kids and grandkids and their kids and grandkids. So you have to try to see how you can change it that way. So you're leaving not just your mark, but a mark for the rest of the people.
And it doesn't have to be something, like healthcare.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just, you have a job at the corner hardware store where you help somebody, show somebody a skill that you have that you pass along.
Yes and no. Because I think the two, the world needs powerful people to be giving their all. And if the two of you are like, listen, my contribution for the next 30 years is going to be working at a hardware store, teaching people how to be good people from this perspective, I would be like,
a skill.
I know, but I'd be like, that's cute. And what else?
Well,
I don't think somebody's all may not be your all.
No, that I understand.
So-
I'm talking about knowing what you guys are capable of. And that would be maybe playing at 1% for how powerful you guys are.
Would you be willing to go to DC and get arrested to protest climate change?
It would certainly spice up your
I don't know if I'd like to get arrested. Would I hold up posters? Would I go out and march? Yes.
That was a question phrased so strangely, Jordan. Would you be willing to get arrested?
well, I think that means putting it all on the line for something you believe in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, but I wouldn't do it. Like some people get a little too over crazy and powerful and push and shove. I don't want the violence.
Yeah.
I just want, I'm here. See me? Hear me. That's it.
So how do you feel about Jane Fonda being arrested every Friday protesting?
Well, she started that way back with the Vietnam War doing stuff, so that's her deal. I'm not like that.
Do you think it's effective or not effective?
I don't know. Has it made much of a difference?
If it makes a difference, it's certainly effective. Okay, I think that, it takes people like that. You may or may not agree with her.
Yeah.
But it takes people like that to put themselves out there so that other people fall in line behind that or start supporting that or saying, wait a minute, what is going on here? Why is she bringing attention to this? Because we're also busy. We're busy taking care of our families and working 2 jobs and doing all these things. We have to make sure that we're paying attention to all these other things because, again, it's holding the leadership accountable for, so we want to get rid of all the Clean Water Acts that we have? Well, that may not be a great idea. Stop. Or whatever it may be. So I think that those are all good things, and I think that should be part of it's in our DNA. Listen, everybody that's in this country came from another country. They took a huge leap. They left people behind, and they never spoke to them again. Moving around today is way easier. You can FaceTime with everybody. But it's in our DNA to be the troublemakers, to throw the tea in the bay, right?
We being Americans.
We being Americans. And any new Americans, the same thing. Look, to come here to do whatever they do, whatever it may be, from whatever country, whatever circumstance, whether they cross the border climbing over a fence or they overstay their visa, they're here for a reason. And, we people that have been born here take it for granted. And having the opportunity to visit other countries with you opened my eyes to so many other things that I never saw before.
Like what?
Well, number one, that people aren't different. They're over there. They have families. They go to work every day, or they want to go to work. They want to do the same things.
They want to have fun. They want to take their kids on vacation.
Yeah, and I think that, how fortunate us in the Western world compared to some other countries that don't have that. And that's what they want. And people have to also understand that somebody coming here doesn't mean somebody loses. That just means exponentially we grow even bigger and better.
Yeah, the all boats rise theory.
That's right. And it has. It's been that way for years.
Well, so I agree with everything that you're saying. And I think I get torn because I want for the U.S. to be a place that people can come and, if you're truly running away from something that's not working or for an opportunity, awesome, great, glad you're here. We want people that want to hustle. We want people that, want to change their lives. And it's how there has to be a way to do it that doesn't involve breaking the law, right? Does the law need to change? How do we kind of get there?
I think the law needs to change. I know some people come here illegal.
Yeah.
Okay, but if they have lived here for like 10 years,
Yeah.
got married, raised kids are in school, this and that, you don't go up and take that person and say, you're kicking you out of the country now. Make it easier for them to become citizens. All right? It's not fair. People that have served in our military should automatically be able to become citizens. As I said, if you serve in the military for America, I think you should become automatically a citizen. You're putting your life on your line for this country. And I think there's just has to be a better way to allow people that really want to be in here. Okay? And I know it's tough. Some come in illegally and this and that, and it's hard when so many come at once because it's very expensive to feed them and house them and everything else. So we have to figure something out.
Okay, so when you think about what is most important for people to be focusing on in 2020, what are actions that people can put into place to be more participatory or be creating a life more of their choosing than the regular treadmill?
Some people just have to say that they're not going to settle for whatever it may be, whatever the norm is, whether that's a job they have or their family the way it is, or the community. You just can't settle. You have to say there's some things that are not. We have to make changes.
Just really going for what you want versus what you have.
That's right. That's right. Also, it goes back to what it said about being happy in your happy place. Let's all make sure that we're there and that we're not imposing on necessarily other people what it may be. But yeah. I think as a community, we have to look at things. We're so connected now like we've never been connected before. So you just can't think of yourself anymore. Mm-hmm. Everything that you do and say now goes out to the world. So be aware of that.
I think, especially these younger kids, you got to watch what you write and say on Facebook and everything, because you're not just saying your opinion. You're swearing at people. You're calling them stupid and dumb and this and that. That doesn't help anybody. Say, I think it should be like this, or I really agree with this. Just don't, bash people for no reason just because you want to act like a jerk. So
I think that applies to all ages. What are books or movies or podcasts that have had an impact on your life and maybe changed it?
Well, I think reading anything is a good thing. You need to know what's going on in the world. So however you get that, just make sure that that information is from a valid point.
Valid source.
A valid source, thank you. And that and read some things that make you understand other people.
So what are some of those things for you? Like, what are books that have really opened up your eyes about things?
I've read a book, and I'm hoping I get the title correctly. I think it's called The Thread. Mm-hmm. It was about a woman in New York who befriends a young boy who's poor, and that opens her eyes to a whole nother world. She couldn't ignore it at that point, and she became involved. Anyway, but I think books like that talk about, my son just bought me the book Nickelback. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. It's called The Nickel Boys.
The Nickel Boys.
Okay.
I just got it.
I'm really excited to read about Nickelback.
So that, that's something certainly I don't know anything about. I mean, I grew up in a safe place. I didn't have those problems. My parents didn't get divorced. I think from reading the books, I think that it opens your eyes to things that you would have no concept could happen. This little boy was late for school, and they asked him why. Why couldn't you show up here at 8:00? Well, we don't have a clock in the house, and it's hard to comprehend growing up like that. Mm-hmm. So I think so you have to look at people in different situations differently, and don't assume everybody has had the same opportunities or
upbringing
that you had. That some people's lives are very, very different than yours, even though they only may be a few feet away.
As you guys have gone through your life, have there been moments when you can look back and say, like, that was a pivoting point, or that was a moment where my path changed?
One time, your sister was having trouble in school, and I tried to talk to other parents and try to work this out and so forth. And I found that I was alone at that situation. And I had to deal with it myself and realize that they're still my friends, but I can't count on them for certain things. So that was a turning point for me where I said, okay, I can only go to them for particular things and the rest I'm on my own.
Is that because you had to choose supporting one of us over?
Yes, and realizing that they didn't care as much, so they didn't want to help out or whatever. So they backed off. So that's when I learned, okay, you're still my friend, but I can only do so much with you. The rest I'm on my own.
Driving to work one day, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to drive 45 minutes to work or an hour, and I can't live like this, so I have to make a change. So I just didn't accept I could have just stayed what I was doing for the next 40 years. That would probably have been fine. But I said, no, I got to make a change. And that's when we moved to California and set a lot of things in motion. The other thing was a huge learning experience. I had an opportunity to go to Washington and lobby for a business that I was in. And that was really eye-opening to how the process works. And it's not as clean maybe as everybody thinks it may be, that there's a lot of people influencing people in Washington, and that maybe we should do a lot more of that. But anyway, that was an eye-opening experience to how government works. So I got to walk the halls of Congress and Senate and go into people's offices and talk to some congressmen and some senators, but an awful lot of 20-something-year-old assistants.
Yeah. We ask everybody on the podcast where they are on the Powerful Ladies scale. So 0 being average everyday human and 10 being the most powerful version of yourself. Where do you see yourself today, and where do you see yourself on average?
On average, I'd say I'm about a 7. Today, I'd say I think I'm about a 9 because you guys have running me ragged this week. And I got to keep up. I'm getting up real early. I'm going all day. I'm moving all over the place. And yeah, when there's things I want to do, I just get up and do it, and I feel powerful doing it.
I don't know that I can keep up with any of you.
It's not a comparison scale. It's a you scale.
So I think that, a 5, and that I think we all, I need to do better.
What does that mean?
Well, all the things that I want to happen, I need to make happen. So, those books that say, if it's to be, it's up to me, that's really the truth. So if I want things to happen, I need to go out and make them happen.
Big or small?
Big or small.
I disagree with him. Can I say that?
If you can say whatever you want. Yeah.
You're a 9 on the scale, so yeah, sure.
No, I mean, with what your father does at work and how many times he has to go out late, get up early, drive 3 hours a day, and drive back home 3 hours a day on these sites and stuff, I would give him at least an 8 every day.
Only an 8?
Well, then it's how you're at home. No. But seriously.
I appreciate that.
So how are you today?
How am I today? Well, I still, from an overall standpoint, I still think, I think that I can do more.
What does that mean?
Well, it's one thing to do, work is one thing. I think life in general. And I think about it, we went to church the other day and on Christmas Eve and, are we helping enough people? I've been paying attention to help my little family. How many, how can we help more people? Because of moving around, I'm not that involved in the community.
Right.
So what do I have to do that, So I think that's why I only say a 5.
Okay. Sounds like a really fun project for 2020.
There you go.
Last 2 questions. The first question is, what is great advice that someone's given you that you would like to give to the audience listening?
Could be anything.
Do what makes you happy. And even if you're scared, nervous, push through it. Once you get to the other side, you'll be, wow. And my one example is I was petrified to have all of my kids, to the point where I didn't even want to go in the hospital and have you. I'll stay home, see just whatever. But then, wow. And I've done that with other things. Like, there were times I was afraid to go and do it. But I'm like, if I don't, I'm going to regret it and be more mad at myself. And push through, and then you're like, wow, I'm glad I did that.
Sometimes it's not the advice someone gives you, but what they don't give you that makes you move forward. So I think a lot of times there wasn't a lot of support prior to your mother. So sometimes that is for some people is a driving factor.
What they don't have.
Yeah, what they don't have.
Or being told they can't do it.
Right.
Okay. So it'd be great if you guys answered the question this time. Which is, what's a great piece of advice you've gotten from someone, and who did you get it from?
Oh. I'm trying to think about that one.
Not that your previous statements weren't valuable. I was just realizing you were answering your own question.
If I've learned anything from this podcast is how you guys don't listen to the question.
That's why we make good politicians.
Yeah. My mother said, if I ever get in a position I can't get out of, I could call her and just ask her, what time did I have to be at grandma's house or someone's house to give me an out of where I was? I didn't have to lie to my friends or be embarrassed. Yeah, my mom said I got to go.
That's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
Yeah, because, it's always, everybody, say you're with a group of people, they're all getting drunk and you don't want to go through with this.
Yeah.
Rather than, peer pressure, this and that, it was a way I could get out. And I've even given it to you guys.
Yes, I know.
So that,
I just haven't used it as a
and she also said,
tool in about 20 years.
I use it all the time.
She said, don't be in a position you can't get out of. Don't get stuck at a party or with a guy and you can't get away or something like that. Don't put yourself in those positions.
Okay.
My grandmother, she said to have integrity with everything that you do.
Do you guys have a favorite quote?
That's a tough one. Favorite quote. Eat chocolate and have fun.
All right. Yeah.
No, I wrote in one of my diaries I keep. What was it?
Like from when you were a kid or currently?
No, they're like, you've given me diaries recently.
Journals.
A journal. Mm-hmm. What is it? I wrote?
Dear diary, I love chocolate more than my husband.
Chocolate on the shelf, or chocolate in the store, chocolate on the shelf. The best place for chocolate is chocolate in your mouth.
Oh my God.
I figured you'd all laugh at it later on when you read it and I'm not around.
Right, because we're going to find that. Of all the statements we're going to find.
I put a quote in the back of all the journals I've been writing for you guys.
You should, that's the kind of gems you should be putting on Facebook, Mom.
Yeah, yes.
So the one I like is, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's a good one. All right. So for everyone who's out there listening to this podcast who is looking to figure out their purpose or to make the big leap to go after what they know they should be doing in life, or are just looking for ways to be more powerful, what last piece of advice would you like to give our listeners today?
Don't go on a time frame. You don't have to be the best at age 21, 25. You could be great at 50. Go for what you want, but if it takes longer, that's okay. Enjoy the journey. Because sometimes when you get to the end of the journey, you're like, now what do I do? And you still got another 50 years to live. So all of life is a journey. And, it may not come right when you want it. Just, all right, we'll get it eventually.
Yeah, it's about being present. And I think we all get caught up in day to day. So you really have to be with whoever you are, but be present and then be fearless.
Yeah, don't judge yourself by what other people have done. You don't feel bad because someone's so much ahead of you or this and that. It's your journey. Mm-hmm. And it happens when it's ready for you.
Don't compare yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being on the Powerful Ladies podcast. I hope we had fun today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It has been an honor to share a little of our parents with all of you today. Now you have a sneak peek into what it's actually like on our family road trips and family dinners. Moments of wisdom sprinkled in with the absolutely ridiculous. You're welcome. As always, they've impressed me with their professionalism and insight, and they've also surprised me with some of the things that they came up with. But I hope you all enjoy this peek into what at least one classic American couple is thinking and feeling in today's decisive political climate, and you've gotten some great advice from my 100% biased opinion of the best parents in the world. If you would like to connect with, support, or follow George or Wendy, you can follow Wendy on Instagram at woogduff, or you can email George at gduffy@hotmail.com. I hope you've enjoyed this new episode of the Powerful Ladies podcast. If you're a yes to Powerful Ladies and want to support us, you can subscribe to this podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Make sure to give us a 5-star rating and leave a powerful review on Apple Podcasts. You can also be one of our Patreons for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/powerful ladies. We can get access to exclusive content that we're making just for you. Follow us on Instagram at Powerful Ladies and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. And of course, visit our website, thepowerfulladies.com, for all the latest news, details, and updates. I'd like to thank our producer, composer, and audio engineer, Jordan Duffy. Without her, this wouldn't be possible. You can follow her on Instagram at Jordan K. Duffy. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Until then, I hope you're taking on being powerful in your life. Go be awesome and up to something you love.